Hey, this is Mike Evans. Listen to every episode of Schlereth and Evans on demand at 1043thefan.com. Presented by Siltahara Motors, the home of the zero down with Chapter 7 and 13 bankruptcies. Regardless of your financial standing, no one should be without a vehicle. Visit the special financing section at sthmotors.com.
It's Training Camp 50-50, Teddy versus Drew, powered by Mountain High Appliance. Here's Schlereth and Evans.
All right, good morning. Happy Monday, everybody. Yeah. Shut up, Evans. Don't want to hear about it. Monday. Weekend in the books. Hall of Fame weekend. Peyton Manning, as expected, outstanding speech. You knew it would be. And he delivered as promised. Mark Schlereth was there in Canton on Saturday. So what was it like, big fella?
It was great.
Fun?
Yeah, I had a great time. Canton is one of those places I hate to go, but I love to be there.
It's not an easy place to get to, get around, and get out of.
Exactly. So you're always like dreading, like the whole thing is like, because it's just, it's not convenient. Let's just say that. But it is awesome, man. It was so cool. You see guys that you played against, guys that you played with. You know, we got together for Steve Atwater's party, and it was great to see a bunch of the guys show up celebrating Steve. Steve is one of the class. I mean, it goes, everybody says the same thing. As great a football player as he was, and he was great, he's a better person. He is so classy. His family is so awesome. We've known the kids, since 95, so our kids kind of grew up with the same Montessori schools together. So it is so cool to be able to celebrate him. And then he did such a great job with his speech. I thought a lot of that was, I thought Steve was awesome. Edgerrin James was incredible. Just a lot of fun to be there, and then a great time, just getting home. So it was fun to celebrate him. It was fun to see Zimmerman and Habib and a bunch of guys that you play with. Some guys you're like, oh my gosh, I haven't seen you in forever. And so that was a blast. It was so good to see them all.
When you guys get together in these kind of situations, what do you talk about? I mean, you just remember that time?
Yeah.
Remember that time we won a Super Bowl? Yeah, that was cool. I mean, what are you guys chopping up about?
So we're flying out. It's me and Alfred and Neil Smith and Mike Shanahan. So we're flying out, just telling stories about things that happened along the way, things that Mike did along the way. And I think there's part of us too that get a little bristled about, Jimmy Johnson going in before Mike Shanahan. Bill Cowher. Somebody asked me, well, why do those guys go in before Mike Shanahan? I said, because they're on TV. They're in the front of people's minds.
Yes. It matters.
Al said, and I did not know this, Jimmy Johnson had 80 career wins in the NFL. I mean, is that true?
Efforting music here, Benny?
Yeah, little efforting music early. Now, I know he had the 2 Super Bowls, right?
Yeah, so did Mike Shanahan.
Right.
Jimmy Johnson in 9 years was, 80 and 64.
80. Mike has
9-4 in the playoffs.
Mike has almost 100 more wins in the NFL.
Yeah, I'm looking up just the comparison. But TV matters.
Oh,
TV matters. I don't know for sure if Terrell Davis gets into the Hall of Fame if not for the TV he's done.
Hey, listen, I got a couple times I got to the final 25. Dude, I'm not a final 25 finalist. I'm not. Just because I spent so much time on TV.
Right. It helps.
There's no question. And here's the thing about the voters. I mean, no offense to the voters. But anytime you say no offense to the voters, you're going to offend them, right?
Right.
Most of them don't know squat. They don't know the game. And it would be hard to know the game if you're not studying the game. It's like people that argue with viral, how do you say that word?
Virologists?
Yeah. Like Fauci. Because you watch some YouTube clips, you're going to go head to head with Fauci, who's dedicated his life to it. Like, you may not like the guy, whatever, but you can't argue with that. So a lot of the writers, they've written forever and they have an idea of the game, but they don't necessarily know the game. Like Mike Shanahan, we need to get a campaign. There's no question that Mike Shanahan should be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Well, Jimmy Johnson was 80-64 in 9 years. 556 winning percentage.
Right.
I mean, they did with the Cowboys. Shanahan was 170 and 138. And the 2 Super Bowls. 8 and 6 in the playoffs.
Yeah, and the part of the Jimmy Johnson thing, too, is, though, Jimmy Johnson gets a lot of credit for, he created that value chart on the draft, and, he gets a lot of credit for dealing Herschel Walker for all those picks that created that Cowboys dynasty. Mm-hmm. So I'll give him a bunch of credit on that. Great. That's awesome. But, those are things that you look at and, to really get a guy over the top, you've got to create a campaign. You've got to be, and the TV stuff, there's no question the TV stuff helps. And Bill Cowher is a great coach. There's no question. He wasn't Mike Shanahan.
No.
I mean,
no.
So
the TV matters, and it's Pittsburgh and it's Dallas. How many times have we talked about this with Bronco players? Like, okay, Randy Gradishar, for example. There's no doubt in my mind, Randy Gradishar has exactly the same career. Everything is exactly the same, but he does it as a Steeler, or he does it as a Cowboy, or he does it as a Packer. He sails into the Hall of Fame.
Absolutely.
Cruises into the Hall of Fame.
There is no question about that. And all, so from a campaign standpoint and all that stuff, that stuff just absolutely matters. And for Mike Shanahan, it matters. I think the one thing about Mike, though, is, and Hall of Fame voters, and again, this is stupid, but this is the way they operate. I think Hall of Fame voters oftentimes, because Mike has interviewed since he retired, he's had a couple of interviews. He's still kind of, they assume he still has 1 foot in. Maybe he'll get back in. They don't want to put him up until they know he's not coming back.
Right.
And so that definitely slows it down, but he's not. I don't think, having talked a bunch with him, I don't think he's coming back. And it shouldn't matter. He should go in next year.
By the way, I hadn't seen a picture of him in a while. Silver Fox.
Yeah. I
Looking
like it.
very senatorial.
Mm-hmm.
Man, oh, man.
Yeah.
Very distinguished.
Yes, indeed.
All right, coming up, no separation yet between Drew Lock and Teddy Bridgewater. So who does that favor? That's next.
Hey, it's Mike Evans. Sill-ToHar Motors is the home of Zero Down. Regardless of your credit or financial situation, Sill-ToHar Motors will help you get behind the wheel. People with poor credit or in bankruptcy can qualify for Zero Down and no payments for 45 days and be driving in their new car within hours of stopping by the dealership. Check out any of the cars Sill-ToHar Motors currently has on site at sthmotors.com. Sill-ToHar Motors is conveniently located at Highway 36 in Wadsworth, so regardless of your financial situation, Sill-ToHar Motors will get you the car you deserve at sthmotors.com. All
right, a little bit of a blowback from what I assume are non-Bronco fans when it comes to the idea that Mike Shanahan, how can he not be in the Hall of Fame, but Jimmy Johnson and Bill Cowher are. We'll get to that in a second. But, Mark, yesterday, Vic Fangio said there is no separation yet between Drew Lock and Teddy Bridgewater. Is that surprising or frustrating at all that neither one has separated themselves?
No, it doesn't surprise me. It doesn't frustrate me either. Well, why would you be frustrated? What were your expectations coming in?
I think the hope would be that somebody would distinguish themselves quicker so we could get on with this. Name the quarterback, get behind that quarterback, start to prepare for the season behind that quarterback.
Right, and I would say that what you're saying is we want a miracle. We want a guy who has never shown that he can be something to be something that he's not.
Which one are you talking about?
Both. I mean, what did you think? What do you think all of a sudden Teddy Bridgewater is going to come in here and start hitting deep strikes down the seam, and that's never been who he is. And there's a reason he's checked down Teddy. And bottom line is, he's made some really nice intermediate throws. And I think he's much better in the pocket. Just manipulating the pocket, understanding what's coming, all those kind of things. And Drew's made some really nice big time throws over the top. But if you could, I've heard a bunch of people say that if you could take the two and kind of combine them and meld them together, you might have something. But you don't. And so, I always say this, I've said it during broadcasts, but I say it all the time, is like, put a guy in a position to fail and watch him fail, and then don't be shocked that he failed, right? Put a guy in a position to do what he does, and he does what he does. Don't be surprised by that. Like, this is who these guys are playing true to form of who they've been throughout their NFL careers.
And once you really get into the rhythm of camp and you're practicing against each other, everyone sort of knows what the other one is doing. And I think it becomes more difficult to really distinguish yourself.
Here's the deal.
So we're through the part of camp where I would have been shocked if somebody really did distance themselves. Now it gets interesting. You're going up against the Vikings this week. You get into preseason games. Okay. Now we're going to be able to get some answers.
Hey, we'll start to understand, and this is part of the process. We're going to understand who can play without a script,
right,
and who can't,
right.
We're going to understand who the script readers are.
Yeah.
You'll get to see the guys. There's always that guy that blows you away in practice, and you're like, man, this guy's really good. This guy's really, and then he gets in a game situation or a scrimmage situation. You're like, oh, wait, pump the brakes on that dude.
To me, I call it the Brady Quinn syndrome.
Right.
Brady Quinn, in practice, man, you talk about looking the part.
Right.
Then you get in a game, you'd be like, what happened, dude?
Right. And, and again, you get these guys, and I used to say it to young kids all the time, put down that script, quit looking at it. They don't give it to you in games. Dude, if you can't do it in practice, how are you going to do it in a game? If you're studying what blitz is coming, what defensive front they're going to be in, and hey, are they pirates stunting? What are they doing? Like, if you're studying that in practice, dude, they don't give you any of that stuff in the games. You got to see it with your eyes and react to it. You got to have a sense of what's coming. But if you know what's coming, like how do you expect to get better? It always drove me nuts. And, like I said, I called them script readers. Script readers cannot play in the NFL. I'm sorry. They can't.
So the Broncos off today, travel tomorrow, grueling week. And then they practice Wednesday and Thursday with the Vikings, walk through off day Friday, and then they play the preseason game on Saturday. All right, some reaction to our Mike Shanahan needs to be in the Hall of Fame conversation. You're not going to like these. Let me read a couple.
Great.
Then you can react.
That's fine.
Mike Shanahan coached for twice as long and only got the same amount of Super Bowls. Shanahan took over a team that had already been to 3 Super Bowls. Jimmy Johnson took over a team that was 1-15, got 2 Super Bowls in 3 years. There's a reason that Bill Belichick goes to Jimmy Johnson for advice. You guys act like Mike Shanahan is some god when he took over a playoff team and used somebody else's offensive system. Let's see, one more. Stop blowing orange smoke up all the Bronco fans' butts just because they don't really watch football outside of Denver and understand the reality of how impactful both those other coaches were.
Are we through yet?
Yeah,
are we done with that yet?
Now you can respond.
Okay. Well, so for all you Cowboy fans and whoever else fans, you talk to Bill Belichick. He'll tell you point blank his toughest competitor to match up against was Mike Shanahan. Talk to him. Look at Mike Shanahan's record against New England and Bill Belichick. You just talk to him. The other thing is, what he devised out of, so first off, the West Coast offense and Bill Walsh, when he took over that offense, they didn't run the zone running game that everybody and their brother's uncle runs today. That wasn't that. They didn't hang their hat on that. Mike Shanahan established that and put that into the league right now. If you look at the way the West Coast offense changed from Bill Walsh to the way Mike Shanahan ran it, there are two different versions of it. Yes, there is always carryover in the passing game and where the passing game was established. But when you start to look at the things that have changed over time, the foundation of where the West Coast is right now is Mike Shanahan. Now, you know that I've worked for the Saints and I have become, friends with Sean Payton. It's a friend of mine. When I first retired, I was out in New Orleans. I don't even know what I was out there for, but Sean invited me over to the facility. So he walks me through the facility. He walks me into his office and he goes, look, and he goes, bam. And there's a whole wall of Mike Shanahan Bronco cut-ups. A whole wall of it. And he goes, look at this. And he grabs the tape. There are these little beta tapes that we used to watch, plugs it into his projector in his office, right? Clicks off the lights, and he's showing me back motioning outside the wide receivers. He goes, this is stuff that we never saw before. Mike Shanahan created this, and it was a tell for the quarterback. Is it man or is it zone? And none of us did it. Everybody does it. There's not a team in the league that doesn't use it. So if you want to talk about the cornerstone of the way the offenses are run today, Mike Shanahan built the corner. He may have built a wall, maybe two walls of what's being run today. And I'm talking about Matt LaFleur. I'm talking about Sean McVay. I'm talking about Kyle Shanahan. It goes on, Andy Reid. It goes on and on and on and on again. Sean Payton. Did I just mention some decent coaches? Guys that are having some success? So you fans who think you know squat, you don't know jack about this league.
Morning Brew coming up. We'll hear from Peyton Manning's Hall of Fame speech, Steve Atwater, John Lynch, all that coming up next.
Good morning.
Morning.
It's time for your Morning Brew.
Things are gonna get weird.
You're gonna eat like me, and you're gonna craft thunder.
Okay, this guy needs coffee and crullers stat.
Know what could really help you sort through these important issues?
What?
Orange mocha frappuccino.
Damn, Jimmy. This some serious gourmet.
Let's get it on.
If football has become my home, the people of the great states of Louisiana, Tennessee, Indiana, and Colorado have become my extended family. And as everyone knows, you can never really leave family behind.
Peyton Manning killed it just like we knew he would. Ton of energy, laughs, well prepared.
How many times do you think he went over that speech?
Oh, write, rewrite, revision, standing in front of a mirror, delivering it.
Yeah.
People are having some fun with his Hall of Fame bus, by the way.
Oh my God. I saw the one, the fake one going around. I thought that was real. And I was like, excuse me?
They did one where they kind of stretched it, so his head was like really, well, basically it looked like Will Ferrell's character Megamind.
Right.
It just, it was like right out of like a Munsters show. So it was, at first I looked and went, wait a minute, that can't be the real one. And I went, look,
like somebody did him dirty.
Yeah,
man.
someone did him real dirty.
I liked it, man. He had that look on his face like he was pissed at Stokely for running the wrong route.
Right.
I wonder if that was snapped. That picture that the artist rendered the bronze bust on, if that was right after Stokely ran the wrong route and Peyton just gave him that look like, I can't believe you did that to me.
I think the thing about the thing about Peyton that I respect so much beyond his unbelievable playing career was how much it's obvious when you listen to him talk how much he reveres the game. The history of the game, how much he respects the game,
oh, yeah.
The people that played it, the people that built it, and how he looks at himself as sort of just, hey, I'm passing the baton along to the next generation. He just has so much respect for this game that and the people who played it. That's always come through. That came through well before even last night, but it's something that I've always appreciated about him.
I remember him saying something to the effect that he missed the preseason with, I don't know if it was a knee or what he was rehabbing, but then he came out in the regular season and didn't play well in his first game or two or whatever it was. I think it was back in his indie days. And he said it'd be disrespectful to think I could miss all those reps, miss training camp, and come out here and just, this is, essentially this game is hard, man.
Yep.
Be disrespectful to the game.
Next on the Morning Brew.
For all of my teammates who I played with over the years, will all of you please stand up? John Elway, Terrell Davis, Dennis Smith, Ron Smith, Ray Crockett, Mark Slurth, Mark Slurth, Mark Slurth, Mark Slurth.
Wow, you got repeated shout-outs, huh?
Yeah, lots of shout-outs there. Love that, man.
When you're
Mark Slurth.
Benny's going to have fun with that one. When you're in that setting, well, because you're there for Atwater, but did you have a reflective moment of your own? Did you have that time, or have you been around these guys so many times now over the years that it doesn't really maybe hit you the same way? Or do you still, especially in that setting, Canton, Ohio, are you just kind of looking around like, wow, what a run, what a journey, what an accomplishment?
Mike, honestly, like you'd say the reverence that Peyton Manning has for the game. Dude, I'm a kid from Alaska, right? But you want to talk about defying the odds. And I see the guys that were my heroes on that stage, the guys that I wanted to be. I still get giddy, nervous.
Did you have a moment while you were there where you saw somebody and you had that oh crap, that's
on the stage? Yeah, I see. There's guys I see. I'm like, oh, Franco Harris. They flashed at Franco. I go, oh, it's Franco. I'm like, it takes you right back to your childhood when I'm watching Steeler games in my basement. And they come on, I'm watching the pregame. It starts at 6 a.m. I'd be up Sunday morning at 6 watching Brent Musburger do the NFL game. And then the Steelers were pretty much always the morning game. And I would have a TV tray by the chair I sat in and a notepad. And I'd have all the football cards. So I'd have a stack of Franco Harris cards. And every time Franco would have a run, I would chart it there's a run. He got 7 yards. I would chart it down. And then I'd pick up his card and I'd read his stats from the year before. Whatever. I was just they had a huge influence on my life.
Even then, you could have used a handy-dandy notebook.
I had a handy-dandy notebook.
I had a handy-dandy notebook even then. I had it.
Well, you said you were doing it on cards.
No. I had the football cards out too.
Oh, and then you were taking notes.
And then I was taking notes. Yeah. Not on the football cards. In my handy-dandy notebook. That's where it started.
Love your notebooks. All right, next on the Morning Brew.
To the late great owner Pat Bullen, a true Hall of Famer, to the Bullen family, Mike Shanahan, and everybody at the Denver Broncos, thanks for giving me such a great landing spot to play the final 4 years of my career.
John Lynn, what a weekend. Man, Broncos country, stand up and take a bow.
Mm-hmm.
Terrific weekend. Did you get a chance to talk to Lynch at all?
I did get a chance to talk to Lynch.
You'll be on the 49er beat early this season, so you'll have multiple opportunities. But
I did get a chance to talk to John. John is just so gracious. He's always great. He was at Atwater's party, honoring Steve, so got to chat with him a little bit. It was a great weekend, man. It was cool. It was really cool.
And you were shouted out by Steve Atwater.
Well, kind of a big deal.
Mark Slurth. Mark Slurth.
I did not.
Were you the last of all the Broncos to be called out?
I don't know if I was the last, but the fact that he did it multiple times was incredible.
Just everybody else was just singularly mentioned. Then he rattled you off 3 times.
Right. Mark Slurth.
Continued on to some of the other guys.
Right.
Mark Slurth.
Yeah.
Next on the Morning Brew.
Driven deep to left field, way back. There's his third Grammy of the year. A new Rockies record. How about a 7 RBI afternoon? C.J. Crone makes it 11-1 for the Purple.
Man, C.J. Crone going all Little League on us yesterday as he belted 3 home runs, and the Rockies sweep the Marlins. and are now only 10 games under 500. In fact, is it time? Should I take a look at the wild card?
Yeah, go ahead. Let's just do it.
Honestly, I haven't checked in a long time. What's the point, right?
What are they going to be? 12 and a half?
12 and a half out.
Are they?
Yeah, they're 12 and a half out still. Still 12 and a half out. All right, still a ways to go.
I'm telling you what, if you win all the rest of your games, and the other teams lose a bunch.
Hey!
Right?
It's been done before.
It has. There's been some crazy runs over time. When the Nationals won the World Series a couple of years ago, they were at the midway point in July. They were, I think, below 500, right? Wasn't it something like that?
Yeah, well, next 6 are on the road at Houston and San Francisco.
No problem.
No problem.
No problem.
Hey, man, just take the momentum.
Yeah.
Take this momentum from home, take it out on the road. Sounds simple, right?
Mm-hmm.
That'll do it for the Morning Brew. Bring that to you each and every morning at 6:30. James Marilat, who's been keeping, speaking of a handy-dandy notebook, he has been keeping copious notes when it comes to this quarterback competition. He actually has separation when it comes to the quarterbacks. Something Vic Fangio doesn't have, but James Marilat does have. Who is it? Who's distinguishing himself? He'll tell us next. James Marilat, the Duke of DenverFan.com.
Duke.
Joins us now. Morning, James.
Morning, guys.
All right, so James, Vic Fangio said there is zero separation between these two quarterbacks, but you say differently, right? What do you have for us?
Well, I've got Drew with a slight lead. I think on the scoreboard at this point, it's 6-4 in his favor. I think it all kind of depends, though, Mark, on what you're looking for, right? If they want a game manager, robotic, doesn't make mistakes, and you're trying to win 17-13 in any drive that ends in a kick, then yeah, Teddy probably looks better. But if you're looking for someone who can make some plays, put some points on the board, yeah, he makes some mistakes. But look, if this defense is as good as advertised, they should be able to overcome a mistake or two. Now, he can't be as bad as he was last year from Drew Lock, and it's what I wrote about at DenverFan.com today. I think this idea of they need to play really conservative, safe offense, I don't think that's complimentary football. I look back at the 1998 team that you were on, Mark, and the way Greg Robinson's defense just came after people, and they had 47 sacks and forced 39 turnovers, but they could afford to gamble because if they gave up a big play, if it backfired, well, heck, that offense was good enough to go match it. I think if they were playing complimentary football with this team, and as good as this defense is supposed to be, they would turn it loose a little bit and let Drew Lock be Drew Lock instead of trying to put the reins on him. So long-winded way of me saying I have Drew in the lead, but it's because that's the type of quarterback I'm looking for. I'm not out there saying, hey, who made the least mistakes today? That's who won. I'm looking at it saying, hey, who made the most plays today? And that's who I give the victory to.
It's 10 practices. It's a lot of practice time, but where does practicing against your teammates, what percentage of the overall pie does that make up if you're evaluating these quarterbacks when you now start to get into a couple of practices against the Vikings, the preseason games, all that?
I think it's very little. I think it's probably 10 to 15%. I mean, Vic Fangio told us after OTAs and minicamp that was 2 to 3%. Now, I don't know that that's the exact number, but his point was it's not much, and I think he's right on that. I don't know that these practices are much more than that because it's so scripted. You know exactly what's happening. You can't get hit. I think when you go against the Vikings in practice this week, that'll be a little bit more. But it's the preseason games. Of all this stuff, when both Teddy and Drew have been here, those are going to be the games that matter. Those are going to be the moments that matter. So it's against Minnesota. It's against Seattle. The other part of it that I think is a part of the equation is, because look, it seems silly to me to make the decision based on, well, how does Teddy do in his half with the ones, and how does Drew do with his half with the ones, as opposed to the 18 games that Drew Lock has started in a Broncos uniform and the multiple years we've seen Teddy Bridgewater with multiple teams. Like, that has to be a factor too. So, yeah, how one of them looks on a random Tuesday for an hour and a half with a bunch of water breaks, I don't think that's a huge part of the equation.
How big is this couple of days of work against Minnesota in your mind for this team?
I think it's huge. I think 2 years ago we knew this team was in trouble when the 49ers rolled into town, and it was like, oh my gosh, these guys they're playing at a different tempo. They were loud, they were flying all over the field, their coaches were into it, the players were into it. Like the Broncos got hit by a buzzsaw at their own facility. It was eye-opening. Now, it's a Broncos team that started 3-8, and it's a Niners team that went to the Super Bowl, but you could see it, you could feel it. I think you get a sense of kind of where you're at versus everybody else when you go against another team. So what will the Vikings look like when the Broncos see them on the field? If it's as jarring as it was 2 years ago, I think Denver could be in trouble because it's all relative, right? We go down to practice and it's like, man, nothing's happening and it just seems kind of quiet. Well, for all we know, there's 31 other teams having practices that have, the same kind of tempo. I don't think so, but we won't know it until we see them on the field together. So I think they're huge.
You're a bombastic, sometimes negative viewer of all things Broncos, but you grew up a fan of this team, and I'm curious what kind of observations, emotions were you feeling over the course of a long Hall of Fame weekend featuring multiple Broncos?
Yeah, it was really cool. I enjoyed watching Steve Atwater on Saturday. I grew up watching him play and that defense, and when he came in as a rookie, just the impact he had, and he and Dennis Smith as two of the hardest hitting safeties, arguably the hardest hitting safety duo in league history. I mean, just a great player. Everybody says this, but it's true. As nice a guy as you'd ever want to come across. So that was a ton of fun to watch. And then watching Peyton yesterday, and I'm sitting there with my kids and just saying, man, doesn't that seem like it was ages ago and how much fun that was to watch that team? So, look, I'm negative about a guy that's 23-41. That's why I'm on Vic Fangio. I'm negative about a team that hasn't gone to the playoffs in 5 years and had a 500 season in 4 years. I'm not negative about a guy that's one of the best of all time. I mean, Peyton, those days were special, and we should have probably treasured him a little more than we did, but he hit it out of the park last night, too. As expected, his speech was on the money, right combination of humor and, kind of touching moments, and had a message about the state of the game. So he was fantastic. And as a fan, it was just fun to think back all those times, all the way back to the 90s with Steve Atwater, and then, the mid 2010s with Peyton. It was great memories.
Any favorite memory as a kind of a parting shot as you leave here on the station this morning from the Hall of Fame speeches?
Just the way Peyton opened, and he's just such a master, right? Like he comes out and he's got the jokes about Tom and when he's going to retire, and Ray Lewis is still giving his speech from 2018. I think if you're ever given like a best man toast, or you ever have to give a speech and do something, just go watch that, because it's just the way he opens it, gets everybody kind of on his side. It just was a masterclass in how to give a speech. It was fantastic.
All right, James, good stuff. We'll be looking forward to everything this week at denverfan.com, and we'll talk to you again later in the week.
All right, fellas. Thanks.
James Marilat from denverfan.com. Join us on the Johnson Auto Plaza hotline. And
I have one issue with his take on complimentary football where I think he's wrong.
Okay, go ahead.
So he talked about complimentary football leading toward a decision that points at Drew Lock, right? Because the defense can overcome some of the mistakes that Drew Lock will make, and some big plays will happen. But complimentary football to me is, hey, let's manage the game on the offensive side. Let's not turn the ball over on the offensive side. Let's make sure that we churn some first downs. Let's not put our defense in a bunch of 3-and-out situations. To me, complimentary football makes more sense. Teddy Bridgewater makes more sense. If you're strictly going on complimentary football, the complementary nature of how defense operates with offense, I would say that you would lean more toward Teddy Bridgewater. Does that make sense?
It does, especially also if you buy the idea that these receivers and pass catchers that have all been drafted first and second round, that they can make a difference. Now, I'm of the belief, if you're a pass catcher, you play a complimentary position. You're only going to be as good as the quarterback throwing you the football. But, hey, let's test that model. You've got all these first-round picks, high first-round picks. So the idea should be they can make the quarterback look better than he really is. So if that's the case, just give me a quarterback who's safe with the ball, makes good decisions, just gets the ball. Nothing fancy, just gets the ball into the hands of these playmakers,
right,
who will just excel all on their own.
Puts the ball in their hands with the position, with the accuracy and the position and the timing to let that guy make a play with his feet. Run and catch. Yak. Yards after catch. Right?
But I'm not going to put but I want to test the theory that you don't have to put as much on the quarterback with this supporting cast than maybe other great quarterbacks do.
What I'm saying is that idea to me would lean toward Teddy, who has a history of throwing it short of the chains, right? But being on time, giving his receivers an opportunity to go do something with the football.
And if you're somebody that believes there is a lot of special talent here on the offensive side of the ball, then you should be banging the drum for Teddy. Coming up next, story time with Stink.
Ooh.
He shares his stories from his Hall of Fame trip to Canton. Next.
Hey, it's Mike Evans. Siltahar Motors understands sometimes bad things happen to good people. That includes bankruptcy. If that is you, you can still purchase a car at Siltahar with zero money down in almost all cases. This is a program they've been doing for 25 years. The dealership itself is almost 60. Family-owned business that is proud of their reputation and proud to be a huge part of the Broomfield community. If you file bankruptcy, Siltahar Motors can help. Zero down and no payments for 45 days in almost all cases. Contact Team Zero Down at 720-446-9222 or online at sthmotors.com.